But funny enough, I had this subject in my mind recently. It came across my radar recently because my son was doing his modern studies higher. And one of the subjects that he was doing I did an essay on, was about health inequality. And essentially what it said was that people in the East End of Glasgow, and I know in parts of Ayrshire, but their life expectancy was in the early 60s. And what it said in his modern studies thing in school was that the life expectancy in Lenzie, you're just a few miles away on the other side of Glasgow, was I think 78 or 80 or something like that. Now there is the challenge of politics, not to reduce the life expectancy in Lenzie, but to raise the life expectancy and to raise the prospect and to raise the educational achievements of people in the places that have been deprived. So the same story emerges this week in the Scottish Parliament. But the comparison the nationalists make is not between the East End of Glasgow and Lenzie. The comparison they make is between Scotland and Harrow. Now the thing about Harrow, for the avoidance of doubt, is it's in England. It's in posh England. So the conflict for nationalists is between Scotland as a whole, including the people in Lenzie, and Harrow. Now, in a nutshell, there is the argument. Now, they have all the powers that they could ever have, and a great deal of money to go with it, over the National Health Service, over education, over all the tools which are needed in order to address that inequality within Scottish society. But they have no interest in doing so, because all they want to do is to turn people in Scotland against people in England on the basis that England is Harrow. Well, Scotland isn't the East End of Glasgow or Lenzie. There's difference within Scotland, but England isn't Harrow. England is Liverpool and Manchester and Newcastle. There are more people living in poverty within 10 miles of the Palace of Westminster than there are in the whole of Scotland. And are their needs the same as the people in Lenzie, any more than the people in the East End of Glasgow, or their needs the people in Harrow? It's an nonsensical thing, but it comes, and they love to say they're not racist and they're not Anglophobic. But when they know perfectly well that exactly the same statistics exist within Scotland, why do they not use the example within Scotland and say this is a problem to be addressed? Why do they pit Scotland against England in order to make that false analogy? That is the question.